How does my hair look and stuff? How do I look? Hello, I'm about to talk about photography. The first photo I took that felt like it mattered was probably... It's a funny one, this, actually, because this isn't probably a picture I would show anyone now, because I took it a really long time ago. And it was at the start of my journey, I suppose. And this photo that I took was in collaboration with my sister, who's a digital artist, and she was the kind of person who introduced me to the idea of true storytelling and how that was kind of the difference between just taking nice pictures and taking something that really made you feel something and communicated something more that was just, oh, that's nice, that's cool. This picture called Banya, which was the start of this Scottish-themed photo exhibition I did with my sister. My sister Jocasta introduced me to the world of myths and legends and folklore and fantasy. She was and still is really into that world, and I guess she kind of introduced me to that way of thinking. Well, okay, maybe drawing isn't your thing, but maybe there's something else. When I started working in that world and I started thinking about image making in the sense of story, was the first time I created something that made me go, that's what I want to do, that's what I want my work to look like. That was the kind of formation, that was the basis of what I thought was, this is who I am, this is my style, this is how I want to communicate. So I suppose it was the first time I realised that, and it still forms the basis today of how I work and how my style is communicated. So yeah, I would say that was the first picture I took that I felt mattered in some way. I first realised that photography was more than just taking pictures when I realised that it was my way of communicating and articulating my thoughts, feelings, loves, hates, desires, fears, all of those things. Specifically, when I realised that was probably, again, when I did this exhibition with my sister and I realised I could use it as a way to tell stories. As cliche as that sounds, I think the word storytelling is a big buzzword at the moment, or it probably has been for a long time, but it's the truth, and there's obviously a difference between saying you're a storyteller and actually being one. I've always had that desire in me to be able to do that, and photography has, I guess, been that way for me to do that. And that's a really powerful thing when you otherwise struggle to say how you think and feel and want and don't want in words and to people. It's a lovely way of being able to do that, I guess. I guess the story I would use to describe my style is, it's mine. And you can kind of see that from the first kind of shots I ever took to now. It's an evolution of me growing up and finding these weird and wonderful stories, thinking of weird and wonderful fantasies, my own experiences, my own fears, my own desires, my own kind of stories that I want to tell. So yeah, I would say it's my story. With AI generating fake moments, I do and I don't believe that we're losing what's real. In one sense, I think it's important to remember that technology, first and foremost, has always been moving forwards, and there's always been developments in technology and in revolutions where, a lot of people will go against it. So I think it's important to remember that these technological advances will always be here and they'll always be moving forwards, and in a way we need to find a way to embrace it in a way that is productive for us and for what we're doing, and that doesn't take away from what is important to us. And then on the other side of that, what is important to us is absolutely authenticity and absolutely is real moments, because we, as human beings, we desire safety and we desire knowledge, we desire the truth. In a world moving towards the artificial, authenticity means more to me than it ever has, mostly because there's such a spotlight on it now. Despite the fact that, it's an interesting thing here, because my work, my photography, my method of image making is fantasy. It's all worlds that I've built. And even so, my ethos has always been from day one, before AI became a thing, is the authenticity behind all of those shots. And I suppose for me, the authenticity comes with just the reality of what it took to build those images, and the reaction of everyone on set to make them do what they did, the reaction of the model or the subject, their emotions driven by me or by their surroundings or by what they felt that day, the interaction between me and my crew and the model, what I got out of them, how they felt about the story they were telling. So the picture I'm going to talk about is this image that I shot in Iceland. It's a beautiful image of this woman in this phenomenal kind of liquid chiffon dress. She was standing on this kind of boulder in these little thin, I think they were stilettos or they're kitten heels, but they're very thin heels. And I said, "Are you okay being up there?" And she was like, yeah, it's fine. And then the wind just picked up and it just made the clothes do things that, it looked like liquid. She was surrounded by liquid, it was amazing. And the sky was blue and it was just, everything about it was perfect. But the story behind that image is, so I went out to Iceland because similarly to Scotland, there's an amazing folklore behind it, and obviously my work is heavily inspired by myths and legends and fantasies and things like that, and I thought, what a perfect place to tell a new story. So that image is inspired by the hidden people of Iceland, and it's based on this folklore of these kind of elf-like creatures. They look and behave similarly to human beings, but they live in like a parallel universe, and they're only seen by desire when they want to be seen. But they're kind of hidden physically and by this parallel universe that they live in. And I thought it was an amazing story. So we kind of used these models that had this kind of elf-like otherworldly quality, and we styled it in a way that felt otherworldly as well, but still keeping it like a fashion editorial, I guess. I haven't cried after taking a photo, but I've been very close. Like, I got, like, moisture was being forced from my eyes while I was shooting once. It's only happened once. It was when I was down in London and I was shooting alongside Nick Knight. He was mentoring me for the day, and I was very lucky in that I was able to bring my kind of usual team down with me, and I was working with a model that I've been working with since the inception of my career. And she's the same age as me, so we kind of grew up together, and it was amazing to be able to kind of take her with me on this journey to this kind of new world for me, because I'm from Scotland and I'm used to shooting in small studios with, at the time, small teams. Like, I maybe would have an assistant with me if I was lucky. Towards the end of the day, we're doing this shoot that's where the character kind of starts dressed very feminine, very elegant, and the story is she's kind of slowly being undressed, and she kind of turns more masculine. And because she was going to be fully naked, so we decided to block off a section just for me and for Kirsten so that we had some privacy. And we had the music playing, and I think it was like Wicked Game or something came on, which is a very haunting song, and it was this huge space, so it was just echoing throughout the whole room. And I mean, I'd been photographing her for a long time now, and we were very close, we knew each other very well. And this was the first time that I had no words. I was just like, the light was dark and atmospheric, and we had a smoke machine, and the music was just echoing, and everyone was dead silent, and it was just me and her. And I think, like, photographers talk about those moments all the time, you know, and that was the first time that I'd experienced true intimacy between me and what it was I was photographing. And she was just moving in ways that I'd never seen her move, and it was the wildest feeling. It's like we connected, as lame as that sounds, but it was this thing that happened, and every single shot was just incredible. When I think about the hardest stories I've had to capture, when I'm asked that question, my mind immediately goes to documentary photography, because in my mind, those are hard stories to capture when you're out there and you're being kind of thrust into situations that make you feel afraid, or it's the unknown, or, you know, you're hearing people's intimate stories and their experiences. I do something different. For me, the hard stories that I tell are ones of intimacy. And by that I mean the intimacy between me and my subject, my model. Trying to get an emotion out of them, trying to tell a story and kind of help them understand who their character is. And I guess the hard thing is I have this idea in my head, I have this character in my head, I have this story I want to tell, and trying to communicate to the model or the subject that's kind of embodying that character, who it is they need to be, what it is they need to feel. I do think photography can change people's hearts because it captures moments that otherwise would never be seen or be known about. We're so much more informed of what's going on in the world because of photography. It captures things that are happening that, would make us go, okay, we don't want to do that anymore. We can't let this happen anymore. It made me want to use it as a form of communication, and it's very fulfilling and it's very enjoyable. I think it's very emotive. So yeah, it definitely can, it does, it will, and it does change my heart as well, yeah. I think my photos reveal more about me than my subjects, purely because, the way I shoot and what it is I shoot. I build worlds, I create scenarios, I shoot what's in my head. Again, it's my fantasy, it's my emotion, it's my experiences, it's all of those things, and I build this world and I give it to my team and I give it to the subject and I say, this is who we're being today, this is the story we're telling today. And it's a reflection of ultimately where I'm at in that time of my life. And it's a very personal thing. These are really good questions. There's a million photos I regret never taking. There's a million. I would say there's like weekly, there's a picture that I didn't take that I wish I'd taken. And a lot of that is down to the fact that I am a massive perfectionist. And it's a blessing and a curse equally. Being a perfectionist means that I can't press the shutter until it's exactly what I had in my head, or it's exactly what I want, or the conditions are right, or, well, there's no point in doing that because we don't have this, we don't have that. And it's something that I'm always fighting with and I'm always trying to ditch in my daily life. On shoots, I've planned everything's there that I need. And the beauty of the shoot day is you let things unfold and see what happens and you get magic. But in between shoots, there's 100 million thousand moments that I wish I had my camera for. I wish I could have captured. I can't think of one specific image or one specific moment that I wish I had a camera for, or I wish I'd taken it. Or perhaps, I don't know if there were any moments where I thought, why didn't I just take that picture? Specifically, I can't think of one, but I know for a fact that goes through my head all the time. And it's the perfectionist in me that goes, but you don't have this, you haven't thought of this, but what about this, why are we doing this? It's all the constant questions and, second guessing and things like that make me hesitate. And by the time you've hesitated, the moment's gone. And I've never been one to carry my camera around with me everywhere. I'm a light traveler, and my camera's huge. If I couldn't use a camera anymore to tell stories, I would probably get to grips with, okay, so whatever I do, it has to be with my hands. I know that much about myself. As I say, I'm not super articulate. I can do words, I can write things quite nicely, but it's not how I would tell stories. It's not how I would tell the stories that I want to tell. I would get to grips with all the things that have been part of my world up until now, which is fashion. I mean, if I could be a designer, if I could get to grips with doing that, and I could do runway collections, and I could do couture, and they could capture that, and my designs could be used for other people's fantasies, that would be amazing. I wish I could. I do wish I could do that. I mean, I suppose there's no saying that I can't. I've never tried. But that has been a little back of the mind dream of mine. I love it so much. I love couture so much. I would love to be able to do that. My first introduction to how fashion can tell stories was through Alexander McQueen when he was alive, and the collections that he did. He didn't care about what was the done thing in fashion and what was the done thing at runway shows and collections and things like that. He didn't follow protocol, he didn't follow the norm, he didn't do what anyone else was doing, he didn't care about what anyone else expected of him. He just did, and it's the most admirable thing. He just went, this is how I feel, this is what I want to say, take it or leave it. And he revolutionized art, the way we connect with fashion and that side of art. He made it fashion be both. So that is, yeah, if I didn't have a camera, I would do that. I would design. Mic drop. Okay, I'm done.